Okay, so let's get started. All right, so we're talking about adding recipes to your Cookidoo platform, how you can do it, and why we want to. So, first of all, oops, um, yeah. First of all, I'm going to just explain a little bit about me, because I know there's a lot of faces here that I've seen before, but there's a few that I haven't. So I'm Rebecca McLeod. I'm excited to share this with you because I now know so many people are using their TM6s and want to know more. And I just think that Cookidoo is such a big part of the TM6. If you've started doing guided recipes, then it's just massive. So, and we all know that it's just so much easier to actually do a guided recipe than it is to print out recipes, grab out cooking books, so on and so forth. So most of us want quick and easy, and without compromising on taste. So therefore, putting our own recipes in or adapting a Cookidoo recipe, which was a question that someone was asking, can you adapt Cookidoo recipes? Yes, you can. And I'll go through and show you how to do that as well. All right, so welcome everyone. So guided cooking is a game changer, and I think it wasn't until the TM6 that people actually started to realize how different it was. The TM5 sort of didn't, it was good, but it didn't sort of have the technology there that the TM6 does. So it's pretty much a no-brainer for me to put my own recipes in. Okay, so where do we start? So what recipes can you add? So you can add recipes from blogs. So there's loads of blogs out there that have Thermomix recipes. And then you've got the recipe community. Do you all know the recipe community, the Thermomix recipe community? Cool. There's a few people that have got TM6s that are new that may not know about it. So I'm going to add, actually, I'll write that down. I'll add a link to the recipe community. Recipe community link in the email that I'm going to send you. You have to actually be a member before you can actually use that. And also, by the way, you have to have Cookidoo, the subscription, to be able to put your recipes in there. I know some people complain about having to pay a subscription fee, but I think Cookidoo is more than just a recipe platform. Instead of like, when we've got our iPhones, you have to buy the new model every year if you want the updates. Thermomix don't do that. So what they're doing is they're saying, look, you know what, we'll keep doing updates and we'll upgrade it as long as the technology in the TM6 model can cope with it. We're just going to keep putting updates in constantly, and that's what you pay for. So I think for $1.33 or whatever it is a week, I'm quite happy to pay for that to have new things like the sensor coming out and, all sorts of different things, all the different modes that we keep getting. So back to, so there's the recipe community and then your recipes. So there's recipes that might be yours, your nan's or whoever, or from recipe books. So let's go into how we go putting them in on each one. So the first one is the recipe community. This is the easiest way to get a recipe into Cookidoo. And what you need to do is, like I said, you have to be a member of the recipe community. And basically there's just a touch of a button can actually transfer a recipe over to your Cookidoo account. Then you have to make it guided, which I'm going to show you how to do shortly. Then there's recipe blogs. So if you want a recipe that's outside the recipe community, you can actually put recipes from other people's blogs into Cookidoo. What I want you to be aware of is some bloggers aren't very happy about people doing that. And I'll explain why a bit later when we go into that. But I don't mind. I prefer that if you put becstable and then the recipe name in straight after it, and we'll go into why later. But yes, definitely, I'm happy for you to put my recipes into Cookidoo. All right, and then there's from a cookbook. So, like I said, if you've got a recipe that was your nan's or your mum's, or you've written it yourself and you want to put it in, you can definitely do that. But that's probably the most time consuming because you have to type it. So if you can touch type, then that's really handy. So, all right, we'll go in and let's have a look at first at the recipe community. Sorry, I'm just letting people in as we're doing this. I've made a little video about getting my recipe for Greek pita bread into Cookidoo and how to start it and go through and change it. So we're going to watch that first. Now, has anyone got any questions before we get onto this little video? Yep, go Sharon.
So that recipe, oh, well, you're going to show us how to do that, and also the recipe blog, you're going to show us how to insert that?
Yes, I will definitely
Okay,
do that.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this one, this particular recipe I have in the recipe community. I've got I think 17 recipes in the recipe community, and I've got over 300 recipes on my site. So that's really time consuming putting it into the recipe community. It's really an old platform, if you like. I wish they'd actually get in there and upgrade it a little bit, but it's very convoluted the way that they've done it so that you have to put each stage in. But anyway, we'll have a look at the video and then you'll be able to see how this works. Now, I'm not sure if the sound is going to be good. You might have to turn it up on your device. And if you've got your iPhones, my husband was on a device the other day. If you've got your iPhone facing up and down like this, you might want to turn it sideways to see the full view of this on your phone. Right, let me start this off. Oops. Okay, so I have jumped into the recipe community. So this recipe community has been around in Australia since the TM31 days. So there's a lot of recipes in here from different consultants, from Thermomix themselves, and from people that just love their Thermomix and want to share their recipes. So this is how it works. I've actually logged into my account. So you've got to make an account to be a member of the recipe community. It's pretty easy to do. If you haven't done this before, I will send you some information in an email straight after this soon. But all you need to do is type in this search bar the name of a recipe that you're looking for. Pretty much everything's in here. So if you typed in Black Forest cake, something would come up. But I'm going to type in Greek bitter and find my recipe for Greek bitter bread there. So this is my recipe from my blog that I have put into the recipe community to make it easy for people to put straight into Cookidoo rather than cutting and pasting from my blog site. Now, what happens here is these are the ingredients that are in this recipe and the preparation steps. I've been going through all my recipes that are on the site here at the recipe community and trying to make one process on each line, because you'll see when you put it over into Cookidoo, it is much easier to read that on your screen on your TM6. Anyway, I will explain a little bit more about that later. But to get this recipe into Cookidoo, all you have to do is click on Add to Cookidoo. What happens then is your recipe community will open up your Cookidoo account and populate this recipe for you. So what it's done here is it's put the ingredient list in for you and it's put all the preparation steps in for you. Now, what you have to do from here to make this guided is to go in and change some of these things. It's pretty easy once you know how. So we'll get on to the next step now, but this is what I wanted to show you, how easy it was to transfer recipes over from the recipe community. Okay. All right, so that was pretty easy. Hey, just click of a button and it just populates everything that was on the community into that spot. And like I said, there's recipes in there that have been written by consultants and recipes written by other Thermomix lovers. So there's heaps. I think that my husband said there was 30 something thousand recipes in there. So that's pretty cool. Um, yes, so your Cookidoo, I've just got a message. Cookidoo, you're only allowed to put 100 recipes in there. Now, when they first did this, they said you can only put 100 recipes of your own in there because they're all um, in the cloud. And I guess at the start, they weren't sure how much space if everybody that owns a Thermomix went in there and put 100 recipes up, I think it would just blow it up. So what they did is they said you can only put 100 recipes in. Now, what I suggest to you is don't put recipes in there that you haven't tried. I haven't got 100 recipes in mine. I've only put recipes in Cookidoo that I actually like and that I don't want to have to go and get a recipe for. So all the ones that I want my husband to make or my grandchild to make or whatever, I put in there. So that's how I've done it.
Yep.
So I know we all love recipes and we collect.
What were you going to say?
But I think that's the way to do it.
No, sorry, I'm in the middle of my
Oh,
Zoom.
sorry, I'm just going to mute Cheryl. There you go. Okay, so now recipes from my blog. So let's have a talk about that. So I was saying earlier that you must make sure that you've got permission. I don't know how they could ever find out that you have put it there, but I know that when they first announced this with Cookidoo, there was some bloggers out there that said they would complain or they would see about getting you what do they say, sue, there was sue or whatever. I don't know how they could find out, but all I'm saying is if you take a recipe from someone's website and they're a blogger and that's how they earn their money, that what they do is they put advertisements, and I'm sure you've seen it, in between every paragraph, there's an advertisement for something. And as you scroll through their website and click over those advertisements, if you scroll over the advertisement, they get X amount, I don't know how much because I don't do it. Or if you click on it, they get even more money. So, of course, if you take the recipe from their site and put it into Cookidoo, then you never have to go to their site again, so they don't earn any money. So basically, they've said if I find out that you've put my recipe on Cookidoo, then you'll be in trouble. So I don't know. I sort of thought about it and went, how can I stop people? My concern is, and I think someone asked this question, who can see the recipes that you've put up onto Cookidoo? And Vorwerk can see them. No one else can see them. So my recipe, if I put a recipe in my Cookidoo, Cheryl can't see it, Tracy can't see it, I can see it, but Vorwerk can see it. So they did talk about I guess if there was enough people that had the same recipe up, Vorwerk might go, oh, this is a good recipe, and let's stick it in as a recipe in the like on the platform. So you have to be aware of that, and that's why I ask if you put one of my recipes up, if you could put becstable in front of the name, then that would be cool. All right, so I'm going to now show you another little video about how to take a recipe from my website and put it into Cookidoo, and we'll go a little bit further on how to make it a guided recipe. So that first one I showed you, we just moved it over to the recipe from the recipe community into Cookidoo, but we didn't make it guided. It's there on the screen, but like I said, it's not guided. So let's have a look at this video now and you'll be able to see it. Okay, so this is the next way of putting a recipe in, and it's from blog sites. So it's pretty easy. There's a little bit more tweaking that needs to be done, but I'll just go in and show you now. So this is our website, so be careful whose recipes that you put onto Cookidoo, because there are some bloggers that aren't going to be happy if you do that. I don't mind. But so what I suggest you do is you go to our front page of our site and you'll see that we have different tabs that you can find recipes, etc. But go down to recipe categories and you'll see that we have 234 TM recipes. Click on that and it will take you to every recipe that we have or we talk about the mimics in. I'm going to click on this Russian tea biscuits because it's a pretty quick and easy recipe and I'm just here to show you. You don't need to be seeing me make a long, complicated one. I'm going to jump to the recipe now. So this is the recipe card and this is our Russian tea biscuits. So I'm opening Cookidoo and I'm going to my recipes. Oh, let me just straighten this up a bit. Going to my recipes and then I'm going to go into created recipes, and these are all the recipes that I've actually put onto my Cookidoo site for me to have guided. So now what we need to do is we need to click on this little green button down the bottom here with a plus on it, and that's adding recipes. So we can't really import recipes at this stage from blog sites because there's been issues with bloggers getting upset about it. So what we need to do is click on this one, which says create recipe. So here you type in the recipe title for yourself. Now, what I'd really like you to do is if you could type in becstable before you type in any of my recipes, that would be awesome. So we're going Russian, tea, biscuits, and create. All right, so now hopefully if all work see this recipe on Cookidoo at the back end. No one else will see it. They'll see that this is one of my recipes from my blog, and hopefully they will talk to me before they steal it. Who knows? All right, so now what we want to do is we want to scroll down and you can see that there's steps and ingredient lists that we need to fill in. So I'm just going to click on ingredient list and then I'm going to go back to my Russian tea biscuits on my website and I'm going to pick up these ingredients and go copy and then we're going to go paste. Now what it does is it puts all these ingredients in one big long list. So what we need to do is we just need to find the next ingredient and press enter. And that will put it on the next line, and that's as easy as that. So plain flour, we've got salt, we've got butter, and we've got icing sugar. So now I'm going to click the tick down here, and that just sets that in place. Okay, can you see, anyone can see that I've made a mistake there? Yes, I've got icing sugar and vanilla on one line here, and you'll see me fix that shortly. So I was going to take it out and redo that again, and I thought, you know what, if you do that then you might not know how to fix it, so I'm going to leave it in and then you'll see. All right, the next thing is we need to do the instructions. So when we do the instructions here, all we need to do is go copy, go over to our Cookidoo site and put in here. Now we can put these in one at a time, or we can put them in a big long list like this and do the same as what we did with the ingredients and just go enter. So I'm just going to read through quickly. All right, so now I'm putting the ingredients. Then I'm going to shake the biscuits. Then I'm going to go down to bake. I'm going to dredge. Okay, so what you want to do is you don't want to have too much information on one line. And the reason for that is this recipe is going to go over to your TM6. So if you've got 6 paragraphs there, that's just like, well, too confusing. So what I suggest you do is just make sure that each step is on a separate line, and that will make it easier for you to make the recipe. So this first step, we don't need anything to do anything with that. It's just telling us to put our oven on and line 2 baking sheets. The next thing is to roast the nuts. I've put a little blurb in here. Now you can get rid of some of this if you like, but I've put a little blurb in here saying that I like to roast most of the nuts that I have because it enhances the flavour, except for pistachios. I think that it doesn't do a good job with those, but it's personal choice. Then it says here that once you've done roasting them, you allow them to cool and you can chop them roughly. Now you can either do this by hand or with your Thermomix, totally up to you. I actually prefer to do it by hand because I want them even sizes and I don't want too many crumbs through it, but completely up to you. The next step here, number 3, it says mix the dry ingredients in your Thermomix bowl. So this is where we're going to add our dry ingredients. So I'm just going to click to the bottom of this list. In fact, I'm actually going to make this 2 lines because you can see here that we're adding ingredients and then we're going to pulse them. So I'm making it 2 lines now, and here I'm going to go back up to the dry ingredients and I'm going to click on the little ingredients icon and we're going to add the ingredients. Now, we're not adding the nuts at this stage because we've chopped them and we're allowing them to cool, and we're just going to add all the other ingredients. So the list has opened up for us to add them. You can either type them in or you can pick them up from the list. It's much easier to pick them up from the list, I think. So what we should add here is one. This is where I worked out that there should be 5 ingredients and there was only 4. I see sugar. Oh, I see what's happened up here. This should be two items. So this should be another item. There you go. All right, so now we're going to go to vanilla extract. Okay, so we've got 60 grams of icing sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, flour, salt, butter. And they're the things that we're going to put into our Thermomix on step 3. Then we're going to pulse the mixture until it resembles. I'll just pause it there. So as you can see, each of these ingredients now has a green line underneath them. That's telling you that when it shows up on your TM6, if you tap onto that green line, it will come up with your weigh scales and it will tell you what to put in there and it will tell you how much of that ingredient you need, making it completely guided for you. So that's really cool. Right. So here I'm going to click on number 4 and go to the end and click on cooking settings. So here we're going to go 10 seconds and speed 5. Be careful, don't put minutes, else you'll be in trouble. Click on the tick and another tick, and we've done it. So with this now, because there's going to be a lot of text on your screen, you can actually go back and edit. So we don't need it to have flour, icing sugar, salt, cube, vanilla, all that text, so we can get rid of it. Same thing here. We can go down to step 4 and we don't need it to have what I said to do here. So we're just going to go on here and get rid of it. Oh, no, that didn't do that. There. All right, so now we've just been left. Oh, So that's not guided anymore because it's not highlighted. Let me do that again. So, okay, so you can see that it wasn't guided anymore. So I've just fixed that up. All right, so pulse until the mixture resembles breadcrumbs. 10 seconds, speed 5, 2. All right, so then we're going to add our nuts. So scrape down the sides of the bowl and add the chopped nuts. Mix again briefly, 10 seconds, reverse speed, +4. So let's just scroll up and we're going to, this is a cooking setting. So 10 seconds. Select your speed, speed 4, and reverse. Click. There you go. So now we've got 10 seconds reverse speed +4. And I'm going to get rid of all this because I don't need it on my TM screen. And then we're going to go click. So then the rest of the things that we need to do here aren't in the Thermomix. So this is all good to go. And we've got all our instructions and we're going to confirm. Now up here where there's a photo, you can put in a photo. Let me just have a look for posts on site. I'm going to put Russian biscuits. That's my picture. You can put any picture you like here. You can leave it blank. It takes a couple of minutes to upload. So just remember that. Here you can put in preparation time. Oh, they only take about 10 minutes to make. Total time, they take about 12 minutes to cook. So let's say 22 minutes for 4 portions. I don't think so. There's probably about, oh gosh, probably more than 20, but let's just say 20. And 10, 6, this can be 10, 31, 10, 5, 10, 6. And let me just have a look down here. So here you can actually add in some hints or tips. So if you wanted to halve this recipe, you could write in here, you know, how many it makes, and you want to halve it next time or whatever. And all you need to do is click done. And look, there it is. So if you want to make this recipe and you want to send it to your Thermomix, you click on Cook Today or add it to your week. Add it to a shopping list, or you could go back and edit it some more. I find that sometimes, especially with particularly long recipes like this slow cooked lamb, I've put my recipe in here and it's a particularly long recipe. Sometimes I'll get halfway through and go, oh, I want to change something here because that didn't quite work right. So it's really easy to do. You just have to come back in and fix it so that next time it makes more sense to you. All right, so that is taking a recipe from a website. Okay, so does that all make sense? Yeah. All right, cool. I think once you get that card in your email to the information thing, it'll help. Okay, so adding your recipe. So like I said, that's probably the most time consuming because you'll have to type them in one bit at a time. But it's not impossible to do. So let's talk about the steps. So if you was going to take a recipe, actually, I didn't show you that. So what you've got to do is adapt your recipe to make sure that it's Thermomix friendly. So you need to just make sure that you understand the steps of that. You got to give it a name. And then you type your ingredients list in, type in your preparation steps and make them guided like I showed you. So that's really all the steps there are. Sorry, I'm just going to add this lady. Okay, so the 3 different ways. So from the recipe community is the easiest way. So you just use that little green button from there and it will transfer the information across without you having to type anything. But you will have to go in and make it guided. And then there's from other blogs, some other bloggers that have Thermomix recipes. And then there's books. So lots of books around with Thermomix recipes in. You can actually type them in yourself. Okay, so I'm going to go over to question time. I'm going to stop sharing now. And most of the questions for today, I pretty much, I think I've answered. But the one that someone said, can you change a Cookidoo recipe? So, I'm just going to open Cookidoo on this screen over here. Cookidoo. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I'll quickly show you how to do that. Also, Cheryl, this is what your Cookidoo screen, well, I mean, it won't say hello, Beck, but your Cookidoo screen should look like that on your TM6. So that's what you're looking for. When you do the three screens of the Cookidoo screen, the TM6 screen, this is the first screen, and that's where you get into Cookidoo. But anyway, let's just have a look down here, and we'll just choose a recipe. Let me pick this one. So say if I wanted to make this recipe, but I wanted to change something. So here where it says raw sugar, maybe I want to change that. So I can click on here and go add to created recipes. And what happens is it opens up in that same spot. So it's inside your recipes, in created recipes, and then you can just simply go through and edit. So if you wanted to change this to, I don't know, say brown sugar, you just do that. So simple. So when it says place the sugar here, what you would do is you would change this to brown. Oops, can't type now. And then it's done. So pretty easy, really. So I do this quite a lot. So I find that a lot of the slow cooked recipes that are in the Thermomix, also lots of the curries have got more liquid than I like. There's nothing worse than going to a takeaway place and coming home with a takeaway container. It's got 3 pieces of meat and the rest of it's juice. So I do the same thing with my Thermomix. So I tend to make my recipes with less liquid. So if it says to put 100 grams of water in, I might just leave that out. So I'll go in, put the recipe into Cookidoo and take that out so that I can make it the next time and remember not to use it, or God forbid if my husband decides to cook, he can follow the instructions and it's easy for him. All right, let me just have another look at the question list. So that's changing that. Do we have to write I think I've answered everybody that has booked all the questions what you asked when you booked in. Does anyone have any more questions for me? Is there anything else that I need to show you? All right. Okay, let's just have a...
Yeah, Beck, I have a question.
Yep.
When you were talking about putting recipes from books over to Cookidoo, does that contravene any copyright?
It probably does. It's a really tricky subject, copyright. In our Facebook group page, I've said to people, don't link to other sites, don't write their recipes, don't share pictures of other recipes, because you can just get into so much trouble. And Facebook's watching as well. So Facebook, I know of people that have had their Facebook pages or groups shut down, and they call it Facebook jail. So you actually get it shut down, which would be awful because I think, the people that are in our group love being there. And we sort of share a lot of things. A lot of people get their questions answered. So it's quite a hard question to answer, but read the front of the book. Usually all books have got copyright things written on them. So that could be a problem if they ever found out. Like I said, I don't know how they'd find out. If you're taking a recipe and an ingredient list can be copied, it's the method that's the issue. So if you copy a method exactly the same, then that can be a problem. So if you change the method, so just for instance, if you have Women's Weekly, Monte Carlo biscuits, say if you took their recipe and you took their ingredient list, put it into Cookidoo, and then wrote your own method for that ingredients, then that's not their recipe anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's how that all works. So that's not an issue. But the other thing is, of course, if you've got a prized possession, if you've got a recipe that you absolutely love, and you know your nan had it and she won loads of things at events, then you put it into Cookidoo and it could end up on the Cookidoo platform. I don't know. So you've got to be aware of that as well. So that's one that you'd have to ask yourself and see if you're happy with it. Yeah.
Hey Beck, if you've got a recipe you've put in yourself, right, to Cookidoo,
Yep.
and like, so for the example is I've got a noodle recipe that I quite like.
Yep.
And it would be handy to have in Cookidoo because it has the measurements of the 6 different ingredients I pour on top of it before I put the aroma on. Okay.
Yep.
Now, sometimes I use the noodles and sometimes I just use the vegetables. It's not the whole recipe. Is it going to be, can I like skip a step while I'm doing it, or do I have to do 2 different recipes?
No, you can definitely skip a step. In fact, when you're in Cookidoo, either on your TM6, if you come across a recipe and say it's got, I'm going to show you, that'll be the easiest way. I'm going to share my screen again. I'll share over to screen 2 here, and I'm going to open Cookidoo again, and I'm going to type in here, slow cook, let's go, because that's probably one that will have lots of different steps. So let's look at this one. All right, so just say, for instance, slow cooked beef curry with cucumber mint couscous. Say if you open this up on your TM6 and you didn't want to make the couscous, you can just leave that completely and don't make it. Up the top left-hand corner of your TM6 screen, if you have a guided recipe that's on there and you're in the middle of it, there'll be a little green book. And if you see that little green book, you know that your Thermomix is remembering to do a step in the recipe. You might have gone out of it, but you can actually go back in it, click on that little green book, and it will take you back to where you were up to in that recipe. So what you can do is, if you didn't want to do this cucumber couscous, you could actually click on that little green box and then click on the ellipsis and say cancel recipe, and then you don't have to do any more with it. But say for this part of the recipe, it says here that you want to do high heat to start with the garlic, onions and olive oil. Say if you wanted to skip that step completely, you could actually just weigh in those ingredients and then go straight to step 2 and skip it completely. Or you could just click on step 2 and skip it. So if you've got someone that's got allergies to, onions and garlic, like some people do, you can skip that step completely when it's open on your TM6 and just press on skip to 2. Does that make sense? And it will jump straight to that part of the recipe. No?
Yeah. Yep. I just thought of something else looking at that recipe as you're talking.
Yeah.
We talk about high temp. We've talked before about trying to find a high temp recipe to do what you want it to do.
Yes.
Can you actually put your own high temp recipe and it's going to work? Oh.
No. Do you know, I think that there has been so much litigation and It's a shame because I would love to be able to put my own high heat recipes in, but I think what they're doing is they're just saving their own butt, because if someone, for instance, this recipe here, it probably goes for what, how much? Oh, this isn't ounces anyway. So it's probably about 6 or 7 minutes on high heat, but it's all worked out for you. Now, if you accidentally clicked on, you know how I was showing you before about 10 minutes and 5 seconds? So it's minutes or seconds. If you accidentally put, you know, I don't know, 20 minutes or 30 minutes at high heat, you are going to burn the bottom of your bowl badly, and probably have to have it replaced. So I think that is the issue, and that's why they're stopping us from actually making these recipes ourselves. But I think you've seen me do this before. As in high heat, if you type in high heat in your recipes, it comes up with a whole list of them. So I use a lot of these to start a recipe. So I probably use my Thermomix because I've had them since TM31. I use it like a fry pan or a pot on the stove. So I will start a recipe, maybe I'll choose sauteed chicken strips, and I put that in because that's a high heat recipe. Now, as long as you've got 250 grams of chicken in there and no more or no less, so it's just roughly like, because it's also 20 grams here and 20 grams here. So if you go too much, your Thermomix is smart and it will go, hang on a minute, you've got too much in here, you can't make this recipe, or you've got not enough in here, you can't make this recipe. So just make sure that you've got the same quantity of ingredients that it says in the list, and you can go straight to high heat. So you can skip this first step completely, go straight to high heat and start cooking it. And that will actually sear and brown your chicken. Now, of course, that could be bacon, or it could be bacon and onions, or it could be anything you like. But it is guided, so it will do it for a set amount of time and stop. But it has to be that weight. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. So I might start that, and then say if I'm making lasagna, and I want to brown off some mincemeat, I will put 250 grams of mince in there, and I'll sear it with the high heat, and then I will put my Thermomix setting to, I don't know, say 20 minutes at 100 degrees, and then I'll just start throwing things in through the hole in the lid. So I'll chop my onions, throw them in, chop my mushrooms if I'm putting them in, throw them in, and then you can just walk away because it's stirring on slow speed or speed 1, and yeah, let it cook. So if you're used to cooking things on the stove and you know how long they take, you can just put in a time and a temperature and just walk away and have it cook. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, cool. All right. Let me have a look at my recipes again. The other thing is, we weren't going to talk about this, but in the created collections, so this is the created recipes, which are your recipes. But if you go back, you've got all collections that you've saved. So I've actually saved, I've created a collection, and let me have a look. Just before Christmas, where is it? I've got a cocktails one. Why can't I see it? It's got like 40 recipes in it, and I've created my own collection. Oh, here's a high heat one. So what I've done is I've taken, I created a collection down here in this little green tab, and I've called it high heat mini collection. And I've just added recipes that I want to put in there so that I can find them easy. Yeah, so that's really cool. So you can do that for proteins as well. So this is Beck's personal Cookidoo. Oh, that's served. But yeah, Christmas recipes to try, party time cocktails. There you go. So that was one that I made. So there's 41 cocktails in there that I just put as a created collection. So you click on that, type in here Bex faves, and then you've got that new collection that comes up, and you can add recipes. So explore recipes and just add to that. So I hope that makes sense. All right, I'm going to delete that one because I've already got one of them. So I've got them for proteins as well. So like, you know, you want to cook dinner at night and you go, I've got chicken. What can I do with the chicken? So you go to this and you just have your created collection for chicken recipes, and you click on that, things that you've already tried, and go, oh, we can have blah. So it's easy to find. Because there's over 90,000 recipes on here now, so you can spend a lot of time looking at it. So it's pretty amazing. All right.
If I'm saying we're probably off topic, but if you've got a recipe that comes up and it only comes up in, you know, ounces or whatever,
Yep.
Will the Thermomix automatically do that, or you've got to switch something over from?
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, if it's written in ounces, it stays in ounces. But just take the name of that recipe, put it into the search engine, and see if it's been written in other countries as well.
Okay.
So my filters, you will have done my Zoom about doing filters, but my filters have got everything, all versions, all regions, but in English. So I see every single recipe that Cookidoo has, except actually that's a lie, because I won't see them if they're written in Polish because I don't speak Polish. But I see every single English written recipe up there. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording there. We went on for about another 20 minutes answering questions, but I think we've covered everything that you need to know about putting your recipes into Cookidoo.